Thanks for stopping by, guys, and welcome back to Scrap Mechanic. Now, today's video is going to be kind of a tutorial video. In a recent video, we talked about this, which is known as the Flight Computer 15, also known as the Universal Flight Computer. Now, this is the version 3. I am currently working on a V4, however, that is not ready yet. So we're going to be looking at how you can put this into a vehicle and get it flying perfectly by using this. This is a work in progress I have been working on. I have had it flying, I will admit. However, I needed to reposition the flight computer and do some changes to the thrusters. So we're going to be doing that in this video, and I'm going to show you how we can get this big thing off the ground. Now, this is what you will find when you go on the workshop if you look up Flight Computer 15. You will find this. Go ahead and spawn this. This should have everything you will need to make a flying anything, really. It's got the variable thrusters. It's also demonstrating the concept as well. You do have a WASD converter module back here, but for now we just need this computer. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of the excess things we do not need. Let's go ahead and put you on a lift. Or let's just let's just turn this off. That should fix my problem. Yep, there we go. And we can disconnect there and there. And now this should be the flight computer by itself. All this other stuff is just extra bits and pieces, like these are some variable thrusters if you need them, or if you just need an idea of how they work. Got some more variable thrusters and the WASD module, like I said before. Now then, let's go ahead and get this ready for mounting in a ship. Go ahead and place some blocks. And for this, I'm going to be putting it in the back. Originally it was located in the front, but I'm not too fond of that positioning. I kind of want to have it where you would expect to find the engine room. So let's go ahead and get it mounted up here. I'm going to have to put it a bit farther back, unfortunately, because of the room that's in this ship. Or I should say, because of the room the sensors take up. Because the gyro sensor is much bigger. That is something I'm trying to address on the V4. Getting the sensors to be a bit more compact. There we go. All in place. Everything's looking fine. Yep. Now then, we need to get these two thrusters. These are essentially the same thing as those variable thrusters, just a whole lot bigger. That's got two thrusters, and this has what? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This has got 30, where that's got 2. Much bigger. We're going to go ahead and grab this and place it right there. Go ahead and grab the other one. This is going to have thrusters in all 4 corners. You could do it with the thrusters in all 3 corners. Or technically you could do just 2, but that would cause some issues and you'd have to be relying heavily on the suspension glitch setup right there. So then, we've got 2 sets of thrusters that are in the front. So front right, which would be this one, would be going to that thruster over there. This one would be going to that thruster over there. This one would be going to this thruster. This one would be going to this thruster. Let's go ahead and get these hooked up. And reverse that one. That should be setting blue to positive. If I'm correct, we can fix this as need be. Now this is my kind of rule of thumb I've learned so far. When working with vehicles, the smaller the vehicle, the faster your controller can be set up to be. The bigger the vehicle, the slower you want your controller to be set up to be. Normally 15 would be my default for most vehicles. However, because of the size of this craft, we're going to go with a 10. And I want to have a full 90-degree rotation. Or maybe 60. How many can I do? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Yeah, we're going to do 90-degree rotation. That way they can point all the way down. Now, if we wanted to, we could set the thrusters to start at a negative position. This way the thrusters could use negative positions. Or we could set it at a positive position to give the thrusters a bit of a head start. I'm going to quickly set all these to 10 because this is not something you really care to watch. Okay, now all of the thrusters are hooked up to the flight computer. Now we actually have to hook the actual thrusters themselves up to the computer. We just hooked up the angle system. So to do that, there is a switch right here in the middle. Now these big packs have an OR gate which I can hook to. If you don't have an OR gate like these do, you could just hook up to the individual thrusters themselves. But this should speed up the process significantly. Alright, and next things next, I think we need to hook up the controls to our seat. I always like one being down, so that's down, which is marked with a red OR gate. Hook this to the seat, then we can do up, and then we're going to do start. Something's already hooked to the seat. I know where it is. I'll have to disconnect it to get the numbers correct. There we go. Go ahead and get that. So, I am currently on a lift. I was about to say we can about be ready for our first test flight. This is going to lag because we are on the ground and this is not a small vehicle. So activate the thrusters, press 2, and all the thrusters are inverted. That is nice. We need to go around and change all of these controls to be opposite. That should fix our problem. Test 2. 3, 2. Front's picking up, let go of thrust. Back is starting to pick up, but it's a little bit behind. And we are tilting a bit more violently than I'd like to. Yep. Alright, let's go ahead and kill the engines. Now with larger vehicles you want slower thrusters, but you want a much stronger suspension glitch. This is currently set to the default for that little prototype flyer. And I think I'm stuck. There we go. Currently, this whole suspension glitch setup is set to something like that little bitty flyer, so we need to make it more powerful. Now there's 2 axes to control. The top set controls front to back, and the bottom set controls left to right. Now since this craft is much longer than it is wider, we're going to set these pretty high. So let's say, set these to 30. Hopefully that shouldn't be too much. Yep, that is most definitely too much because that is freaking out at the moment. Let's set it to 20. There we go, that's a little bit better. 20. And let's set these to, say, 7. Everything seems to be alright. Let's go ahead and do one more test. Now, this should be able to make just about anything fly. However, some proper thruster placements and good balancing is always helpful when getting this set up. If you make something too extreme, the computer can technically fly it, but it is going to take it quite a while to figure it out. It seems that we're still rocking back and forth quite a bit. We might have to increase the power of the suspension glitch once again. Because what's happening is the thrusters are compensating much more than the suspension glitches. Which, the suspension glitch is supposed to be taking care of these minute details, not the thrusters, and that's what's giving us this awful rocking motion. We are technically hovering, but not very stably. Let's head back here once again. Crank these up once again. Let's go to about 14, double the power. And another thing I should mention is this flight computer is much more suited for smaller vehicles, such as that little mini flyer and things like the Able. I'm not 100% sure what's the kind of breaking point at the moment. I think it might be the suspension glitch. Those are some of the things I'm working on the V4, but I'm currently not ready for the V4. The V3 still is the current model. So let's give this a bit of time to figure out the craft it's attached to, and it seems like we are almost ready for... Yeah, we're still not hooked up quite right, because I'm not controlling anything, this is just the computer's doing. We are rocking very violently, and this is not going well for such a big vehicle. Go ahead and land it. Let's try this one more time. Let off the throttle. Give it just a little bit of throttle, see if we can pick up. We might have to slow down the thrusters even more, less than 10 degrees. So I'm going to kill this test once again. We're going to go back and change it from 10 to 5. And we're also going to have to give the thrusters a original set of, say, 15 degrees. So there we go, those are all the controllers set once again, and we can go for test. I don't know what number this is. Get a little bit of throttle. Now these thrusters are a bit slower and it should rely on them a bit less. Now, I think I've mentioned it before, the V3 is mostly set up for much smaller vehicles. Much larger craft like this have a hard time with the current setup. That is something I'm wanting to address in V4 when I get around to it. Come on, level out. I might have to boost the strength of the suspension glitch once again. I really think the suspension glitch is what's holding me back. And this vehicle is very much pushing the limits of the flight computer. So if I would be doing this on a much smaller vehicle, we'd be having a much easier time. And it appears we have got ourselves a stable hover finally. I'm going to go increase the controls on the suspension glitch. Let's go 30, even though I think that might break something. And let's go 20 down here. Oh, that one was still set to 7 for some reason. That might have also been part of our issue. I think this is much too powerful now. Let's go back to... Yeah, because we're starting to get a very powerful rocking motion going. Let's go to 12. There we go. This is nice and stable now. There's still a bit of a rocking motion. You could tweak this out with time or with added weight. But for the moment, it is currently flying. There we go. So, quick general rules of thumb: the bigger the creation, the more powerful the suspension glitch is going to need to be, and the slower the thrusters are going to need to move. Because of how far out and how far back the thrusters are separated, you can get some really potent results, especially when you have thrusters as powerful as this. We went from 2 power thrusters to 30 power thrusters, if I remember counting these correctly. So there is that. Now, the reason these thrusters are so powerful because this is a work in progress. There's going to be a lot added to this ship over time, and I wanted to future-proof it with really powerful thrusters. So I might try and do a really quick medium or small build just to kind of show you how this would work on a much simpler setup. This, like I said before, is a really big build for what this computer can do and is really pushing its limits in most regards. Let's go ahead and just hop through the floor. This is where the computer used to be located. We're going to leave that to hover. So for one quick demonstration, let's grab something off my lift and make it fly. We're not going to be putting as much effort into it, just a simple how to do it. Now, this is a tank build I have been working on for another project. It is not a tank you've seen before, but since it is pretty simple, we should be able to modify this quite easily. One of the minor issues with the flight computer is it is a rather complex design as a whole, and as a result, you kind of can't add it to some very complex vehicles. I'm going to go ahead and steal this. We're going to rip all of the parts off of it and use this to set up. We're just going to haphazardly slap this onto the back. There we go. And that is interfering with the turret. Oh well, we can just get rid of part of the turret. Let's go ahead and just grab some of these variable thrusters. Luckily, we've got quite a few lying around. And let's slap these onto the computer part back here. And we can slap it onto the front of the actual tank in a second. And we are most definitely going to have to increase the power of these thrusters. These are not going to be enough to lift this. And you don't need to have 4 points. You could have 3 points, 5 points. There's 8 sections you can hook up to, and basically you just put the connection based on where the thrusters are. I'm just using 4 points because it's rather stable and rather easy for most builds. However, for some aesthetic reason, if you can't have 4 points, you can always do it that way. So we're going to go ahead and do 15 because this is a rather small build. That 15 should be enough. And let's hook all of the thrusters up to the switch. Actually, before I do that, let's add more thrusters because this is most definitely not going to be enough. Also, we need to crank the power up on these. And let's give this its first test. 3, 2. Hopefully we have enough power here to get up off the ground. And there we go. This is more of what I'd expect this flight computer to be used for more often than not. Larger creations like that are just a bit difficult to manage. And since I know everyone's going to want to see it, since we are up in the air, let's go ahead and fire. Now we're not going to shoot at the big thing because I don't have the big thing saved. I don't really have this saved either. Let's go ahead and turn the gun that's interacting with the... Where are you still? Oh, you're still smacking on. There we are. Now we don't have WASD control currently on either of these two builds. However, I would hope that's something that could be simply done already. So let's go ahead, aim, and fire. We have a flying tank. Thank you very much. So this was just kind of a quick thrown together tutorial on how to use this universal flight computer. I know there's probably a lot that I've missed. If you have any questions, let me know. Or the best way to contact me is probably through Discord. I personally built this for some of my own projects, but seeing as how easily you can make just about anything fly, I didn't want to do tutorials and stuff to show you guys how you can use it as well if you want to. So, unfortunately, I am out of time in this episode. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments down below. Enjoy the channel, enjoy what I'm doing. Subscribe, it helps out a lot. And right now, shares help out the channel the most. So if you do want to help out the channel, please share this episode with a friend. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for sticking around. And until next time, peace.